my real estate like investment part of my business is kind of funding or starting that venture. Really do a deep dive into what piece of equipment was the most profitable. All right, these top 50 pieces of equipment or tools or whatever it is have the best margins year over year. For bigger equipment, excavators, getting at least a 60% return year over year on them. Your smaller hand tools like your concrete saws, your plate tamps, your jackhammers, that should be a 75 year over year, which is like crazy number.
All right, welcome to episode number 1 of Built for Profit. Fired up to have my buddy Blake on the podcast today. Super excited, man. He has become a very, very close friend of mine. The best way I can describe him, honestly, is he just default stacks. He taught me so much about just leaning in, not overanalyzing something, because by nature I'm an overanalyzer, and he just dives right into action. And he's also taught me a lot about just going out and creating value in everything that you're doing, right? I've been way more on the budget side. He's way more of, I'm going to sell it and keep doing more. And so fired up to have this discussion with him. So I think you're going to learn a lot just talking with Blake. So Blake, welcome to podcast number 1, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Dude, I'm pumped to be here. This is exciting. Hopefully I give you a good content to launch the number 1 episode. So this is exciting.
No, I am fired up. So obviously, for anybody listening out there, Blake, if you just want to kind of give a high level background view of kind of where you got to where you're at today and just kind of describe a little bit about what you got going on.
Yeah, trying to keep it as short and sweet as possible. But I'm from Birmingham. We're here now. My kind of day job is working as a realtor at Arc Realty. Been doing that for a little over 12 years. Since then, I've done kind of all of the above of getting my builder's license, flipping, developing, some wholesaling, buying and hold, so rentals from the single family to small multi, big multi, commercial, office space, retail, kind of focused on industrial and flex space now, and trying to get some of that in the buy and hold portfolio or build and hold portfolio. And so that's kind of everything, all things real estate, if you will. Got some short-term stuff in there. I've got a castle we bought and renovated and we run as a short-term castle on the lake. So it's pretty interesting. And then just recently, last year, about a year in, launched an equipment rental company with excavators and skid steers and that kind of stuff. And so kind of all things construction and real estate, they all work together, but there's a little bit of separation. And I've learned a ton from you on like, okay, well, how do we keep it separate and run each as a business and not just kind of halfway do a little bit of everything, but try to give each the attention that it deserves. Because I'm in the intro, very quickly, I thought you were just about to call me a squirrel, because I definitely run to like any shiny object and chase it before I give, at least half a thought on should I or not. So I think we balance each other really well. And I've gotten some great advice from you of just like, okay, we got to slow down and focus instead of just running 10 different directions. So yeah, that's
I love
it.
Like, well, there's so much obviously we can unpack just from all the different things that you got going on at one time. And so I'd love to dive into the equipment rental space because it's the newest thing you got. I think there's excitement behind it. But real quick before we do, tell a little bit more about the castle that you mentioned. It's kind of hard to drop the name. Hey, we bought a castle and we have an Airbnb that's a castle. So just give a quick snippet for people to understand, like, what does that even mean? You have a castle in play.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to adjust a little bit. We had some people just walk in. So let me give myself a background and go to a different room so it's not, didn't get too loud. Oh, I can't change it. Okay, we're just going to move. So I found it kind of by accident. It's near a property that we own, that we were out at the lake, and we saw signs for an auction. So ended up following those signs, finding it, following the auction signs to what ended up being like this old broken down castle in the woods. And I was like, this is so cool. Like I want it, but I don't know what to do with it. Right. My mind's just going like, how can we get this and own it, but also not be an expense, try to be an asset for us. And so after just kind of a deep dive into the short-term rental space, because I didn't own any at the time, and we ran numbers, fast forward, won the auction, took a year to renovate. So it's 5 different buildings, 12 different levels. It can sleep 35. It's got a putt-putt course, pickleball, a double-decker dock. It's just wild. So we've been open for about a year and a half now, and it's growing in occupancy and popularity. And it's been fun. It's come with its challenges on just it's more of the hospitality space versus kind of a mailbox money, if you will, on like normal rentals. Which I say that, relative to other things because it's not super passive, but yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I love having it, and it's really cool just to say we've got a castle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Blake's been kind enough to invite us out there a few times. It is a remarkable property. He did a fantastic job, basically taking that from what essentially was an auction foreclosure kind of thing to what it is now, and treating guests in that way. So it's a beautiful thing to see. I love it, Blake. Well, thanks for sharing. Okay, so let's dive into 3 acres, the equipment rental space. So tell me a little bit about like how you're serving people, your ideal clients. What does that look like for you as you're literally building this thing out?
Yeah, so kind of like the castle, just stumbled upon the opportunity to open that up. Wasn't really pursuing the avenue, um, but it actually came starting with a local company that might be for sale, and kind of I guess diving board sprung off from there on noticing that, hey, that company was targeted towards your homeowner, DIY, weekender, wanting to do their own projects, up to kind of your middle-sized contractor. So I'm specifically not targeted towards the big commercial contractors. They're going United Rentals, Sunbelt, Hertz. I don't want to be that competition, just because I'm not that size, and that's just a
Yeah.
market where it's really price driven. And everything that I've done in recent years with my investments and my services, I want to be quality driven and service driven, not price driven. And so there's a need. I see a need in the space for that type of service, higher end service, where people may be willing to pay a little bit more, making sure they get reliable machines, making sure we show up when we say we're going to do, we do what we say we're going to do. And so that's really the niche that we're focused on.
Yeah, it's so good, man. Well, so at this early phase, obviously you're a high networked individual, obviously coming from real estate with the construction background, and then also just knowing so many people here locally. I'm curious, what do you feel like so far early on in the stage is working well for 3 acres that you kind of have momentum in?
I think it's that service side and relationships to customers. So the customers we do have, we don't have a massive list, and kind of intentionally, we haven't pushed to go quantity, but we've tried to go more quality. And so the
Yeah.
customers we do have, like the bulk of our, you say like the 80-20 rule, probably 80% of our business comes from just those top 20 people that are just consistent. They know the service we provide. They know how to get equipment. They know our process. And so as long as we've got our deliverables and our systems that we follow, and when we try not to go outside of those systems, and because at the end of the day, when we try to be something for everyone, we end up hurting ourselves and really the service that we could provide. And
Yeah.
so being able to come across on the front end and say, no, we're not going to do what you're asking because it doesn't fit how we built this business, which is hard for a lot of businesses and a lot of startups to say that, because in the beginning, you're just like, I need dollars, and whatever I've got to do, whatever rule I've got to break to get them. We're in a unique position where it's my real estate, like investment part of my business, is kind of funding or starting that venture, to where our overhead costs and all of that is not normal. It's a little bit less than I think what a normal startup would be. So I would say we've got the luxury of being able to say no and affording to say no
Yeah.
in the short term, because the long term, everyone knows you should do that, but it's hard for the short term to actually do
Absolutely.
it, where we've got that luxury where we can.
Yeah, Blake, I think that's an absolute superpower for you, honestly, when you're building this business up. Because, like you said, I mean, I remember the days for us too, where I'm just saying yes to anybody that's going to pay $1, whether they fit in our scope of work or not, right? And so
Yeah.
it's just having that mentality to say, like, if I have the luxury, but honestly, it's just the discipline too, like what you're living out, to say, like, maybe the luxury there is, maybe it's not, but it's still going to benefit you long term, even from day one. Saying no to the people you should say no to, and saying yes to the people that actually fit your mold and your avatar. So I love that you're approaching it that way. Okay, so flipping the script on it, so far in 3 acres, what do you feel like is your biggest bottleneck, or the thing that like you're trying to break walls through right now, or things that's kind of like holding you back that you're really trying to get over the hump on?
I would say personnel, and we're going through that right now of trying to hire on, because the shiny object syndrome that I'm self-diagnosed with is, hey, let's just dive in and do it and buy more equipment, and we're doing it more strategically than I probably would have 5-6 years ago, of knowing what to buy and how to grow. But at the same time, my personality is like, let's go, and then figure it out as we get there. And so we're at a point where we can't really afford to grow anymore without more people in, because I only have so many hours in the day. My dad's officially retired, but he kind of helps out, where is needed in deliveries and that kind of stuff. But it's really personnel. And so that's something we're going through, kind of those normal growing pains of, we need people in, and the chicken and egg, what do you grow first? You get more people and then the business will come, or you try to grow the business and backfill the people. Either way, you're kind of scrambling. It's just different hards. So what hard do you want? And right now my natural is on the sales side. So that's what I've pushed. And now I need someone to come in and fill in where I can't.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love that. And so kind of speaking into that world, I guess, even while you're trying to find operational guys to kind of do the delivery piece of that business, where do you stand from a profit standpoint of thinking through, like, okay, do I reserve profit and keep it there, or do I try to reinvest profit for growth by investing in people, or kind of like from a number standpoint, what are you seeing in your business and what do you feel confident about? And what do you feel kind of like not as comfortable about as far as just the cash movement of your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing that again is kind of unique in this situation is I got to fully underwrite and go in the books of an existing company in this space locally. And so I got to, really do a deep dive into what piece of equipment was the most profitable. And I can look at, all right, these top 50 pieces of equipment or tools or whatever it is have the best margins year over year. And so I know what to buy. And so so I don't have I guess a profit margin measuring stick that I can pull off the top of my head but I know, hey, these things, like for bigger equipment, excavators, your 4,000, 3,000 pound skid steers and up to 9, 10,000 pounds, I should be getting at least a 60% return year over year on them. Your smaller hand tools, like your concrete saws, your plate tamps, your jackhammers, I should be at 75 year over year, which is like crazy number. I'm used to, a rental house, and if I get 12% a year, I'm like, that's a huge win. And now I'm going to such a different space. But it's also, and a big mind shift for me was, real estate's an appreciating asset.
That's
and
right.
So that's always a factor in my mind. So when I'm looking at these, I'm like, I've got that's $78,000 skid steer is a depreciating asset. So
That's right.
cash flow's king. Like, that's all I'm focused on here. This is a cash flow play to, grow its own business, but also supplement more cash to go buy more real estate, more appreciating assets.
Yeah, it's so good. I think that's a great discrepancy that you just mentioned, Blake, because I think that confuses a lot of people of saying, like, if I'd spend X dollar amount, what's my return on that X dollar amount? But there's a massive difference, like you said, of an appreciating piece of property and a depreciating piece of equipment, right? Because like when you talk about 60% margins or 60% returns year over year on this asset that you just bought, technically it's not an asset because it's lowering in value, every day that it's working for you. Right. And so I think you have to put in those terms of depreciation to really factor into that, what that true return is. Cause that real estate, once you sell it, it's way more than that 12% per year because it hopefully has appreciated over time. So I love the discrepancy that you talked about. Cause at the end of the day, you're exactly right. In your world, I think it comes so much back to cash. What's the cash growth? What are we seeing? How are we justifying the new piece of equipment that's going to help us do the next thing and make margins on that? So I love that so much. Okay. You mentioned earlier today about leveraging a little bit of AI. Are you doing any kind of AI work inside of 3 acres right now?
Inside 3 acres, no, not yet. There'll be a day and time that we do. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I know one of the big pushes we're going is away from a brick and mortar, or not buying a brick and mortar, and going more towards just digital pushes for really specifically targeting the homeowner, the weekender who wants, a chainsaw or concrete saw or whatever it is. In my idea, in my opinion, my experience in looking at this other company is, your contractors, your landscapers, the professionals, they want a relationship with a sales guy they can hop on the phone with, say, this is the piece of equipment I need, here's where I need it, here's when I need it, and get it done. They're not your walk-in customer as much. The walk-in customer is going to be usually the smaller tool. Sometimes it's a bigger piece of equipment, but it's one-offs, and it's not it's quantity over quality, essentially, is what it is. And so instead of getting a brick and mortar and having just a huge expense on the books, a monthly expense, because again, I'm focused on cash flow, not appreciation. If I was focused on appreciation, let me go buy the real estate.
That's
But if I'm
right.
just on cash flow, that's a pretty big hit on cash and expense each month that instead of spending on a brick and mortar, can I put a fraction of that cost or that expense into marketing digitally where I can get hyper specific and focused on what neighborhood to hit, what demographic to hit, what season of the year, like, it's about to get cold. So do we need heaters out there or lights, whatever it is. So we can take the specific item, target to specific areas, what we think they're going to need, and grow the company that way. And I'm sure AI is going to play into that somehow. I don't know how just yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's coming.
Yeah, I love that, man. I think it's fun. You kind of mentioned to this a little bit of just the difference in a startup for not getting into brick and mortar yet, or if that's coming down the road. So speaking in that lane, I know you love the book Vivid Vision. And so if you're willing to share kind of what is your vision for 3 Acres? What does that look like however many years down in the future? Like who's involved? Is it a multi location type business? What are you dreaming about for 3 Acres?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of 3 parts to the business. So one is the equipment rental, like we just talked about. One of them is a party rental side. So tables, chairs, moonwalks, lights, that kind of stuff. And then the third that I want to drive a third of the revenue from is a mechanic shop. And that's one so we can fix our own stuff, and because that could get very expensive outsourcing that, but also having it as a place for third parties to come in and get their equipment fixed. And that's anywhere from small engine all the way up to your excavators. Ideally not diving into the deep stuff. So not multiple week jobs or even 10+ day jobs, more 1 or 2, maybe 3-day jobs where you can turn them pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's where kind of the high revenue stuff comes from. And that's going to be the focus of that. So that's the vision of kind of the three sectors of it. Really shine away from the brick and mortar again. Like I said, my idea, which I'm still having conversations on, I may have to create a vehicle that fits this because it doesn't exist based off a couple of conversations I've had. But I want a van that is kind of like an Amazon van that has a low entry kind of step point, 18, 24 inches into the back. So you can load, a plate tamp might be 150 pounds. You can get that up and in and out much easier than a truck bed.
Yeah.
And you can have all your small tools with you there. But I also need to be able to haul 14,000 pounds if we got to deliver a skid steer. Right now, the van that has the highest towing capacity is 10,000 pounds. And so I've had a couple calls with a van rep at Mercedes. Can we custom build one out? Another buddy runs like a trucking outfitter place that custom builds stuff. And we're trying to get around it, trying to figure it out. But the idea is, everything you reserve comes with delivery. That's just, there is no walk-in. And then when we're there, it's almost like, I guess you call it an upsell. If you want to call it that, it kind of has a negative kind of tone with it. But, we come up and you rented a chainsaw, but we see, hey, you're also pressure washing for the day. We've got 2 in the truck. Do you need another one or whatever it is? So we've got everything there with us to where we can provide more value with maybe even discounts because we're already on site and give you that. So that's kind of the vision for 3 years, is being able to have a sales team of 4, a sales manager and 3 guys under them that are in those vans. So they're making the deliveries, but also selling at the same time. They've got the relationships with the contractors that are already built out. And then we've got kind of COO, GM head that runs the business. And then I'm a step over there. So kind of replacing myself. I need to talk about replacing yourself on the ladder a lot. So I need to go back through and figure out what those steps are going to be. But going from that kind of GM position I'm in now, getting myself out of there, having myself replaced so we can do that.
Yeah, that's so good, man. I want to go back. So you had those 3 areas. I think your second one was like party supplies. Is that what you said? Party supplies. And so kind of dive in. What's the reasoning behind that outside of mechanic and equipment? Those 2 things blend in my mind. But what's the party supply play?
Margins. The margins on table, chairs, and moonwalks are the highest of all the stuff.
I love it. And would it be the same concept of like deliver to the doorstep of whoever's renting it for the weekend or whatever that is?
That's right. Yeah, because moonwalk, I mean, those things, I don't know how much they weigh. They're very heavy. And so most people aren't rolling up trying to pick those up. Usually it is a delivery. There's a setup with it that kind of comes with the piece of equipment. So you've gotta have guys who know how to do that. Tables and chairs kind of the same, unless you're just only getting like 1 table and 8 chairs. Usually it's going to be for a wedding for pretty big. So you're going to need a truck to deliver those. And that's where that's kind of the newest arm of the business as I've kind of fleshed out that vivid vision, because it's not 9 to 5. Equipment rental is 9 to 5 and maybe Saturday. But when you get into the party space, it's nights and weekends. And so that's completely, I've got to figure that out. We don't deal in that space yet. And so I've got to figure out what that looks like from a staffing standpoint, and how much does that diminish those margins, because we've got extra staff, extra insurance, anything that comes with that.
Yeah. So do you have in your mind like an order of which you want to try to roll these 3 phases or these 3 sectors of that business out? Or are you just saying like, okay, once we have the rental revenue to justify opening a mechanic shop, then let's do that. Once we have the revenue between all those things to justify open up the party supplies place, let's do that? Or are you just going to try to open them all at the same time?
I think the mechanic shop would come last because it requires real estate purchase. Now with that comes some land that we'll need to store equipment. So it may be the equipment and party supplies as sales teams kind of grow that side of it. We'll grow as the demand is. We're not going to have a huge purchase and then push it. But I think we'll pick up, pending when I get a couple team members on, we'll pick up a few more or 5+ big pieces of equipment. And then we'll need another yard to store them at. So we'll be shopping for some land. Short term, fence it in, put some security up, have that as kind of our drop spot. Maybe we'll have a Connex box that has smaller stuff in it that's locked up. And then kind of phase 2 in the next 18 months, or in maybe 18 to 24 months from now, we start looking at building up some warehouse flex space that mechanic shop can be in, which kind of ropes back into my 18-month goal of buying or developing warehouse flex space just for my buy and hold portfolio. And so I want to marry those two, where we're operating in a section of the complex that we buy or build, and we're leasing the other out, maybe even to complementary industries that, can jump back and forth and rent and work with us.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's so much fun. Well, cool, dude. Thank you for giving us a lot of details and vision about the business, man. It's so much fun. So 2 other quick questions. Tell us your favorite 2 to 3 books that you've read, just from a standpoint of like, has added the most value to you and just the thoughts behind business and growing a business.
Yeah. Well, I just finished for the 3rd or 4th time Vivid Vision. I think that's great for someone who's, really any entrepreneur that's running their own business, just to be able to have those. It's a 3-year goal. So it's not, they pitch it as it's not too far out to where you just say, I can do it later, but it's not so close that it's not big enough. Right. So 3 years is kind of like, you can kind of have that big, hairy, audacious goal, but it's not so far out that you can push it off. So I really like that. That makes me, like I said earlier in this, I'm a squirrel that chases the first shiny object I see. So it's hard for me to sit down and focus and build that out. And so that kind of forced me to do. I was on a plane this weekend and just went back through it again. And I can't run around in the plane, so I sat down and did that work there. So that's a really good one. The Go Giver is another one that I read probably when I joined ARC, so probably 11, 12 years ago. And it's just about serving others. And that's really what kind of sales, if you want to call that, is just relationships, and how can you improve others' lives and serve them, and knowing that you'll be taken care of as long as you're taking care of other people. So
that's awesome, man.
Those are my 2 shout outs. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. I actually have not read either of those books, so I'm going to definitely add those to the list and read both of them. And then, finally, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that's just you're fired up about in this season?
Man, we really didn't touch on the real estate sales side, but I'm just excited for the systems that we've got built out. I feel like I'm in a spot with that team now. And I say team, I've got 3 full-time, assistants or people who work with me to make sure that system goes super smooth and well. And everyone's just in a great groove right now. We're cranking through. The market's kind of ebb and flowing over the past 18 months. It probably will for the next 18 months, but we're doing the input. We're controlling the lead measures. And so the lags are taking care of themselves. We're not focused on the output, but it's really just that day-to-day activity that produces the results. And a lot of that is some cool partnerships with other agents that are kind of getting out of the business, and being able to partner with them to take over their database and provide value to the people that they've served for years and years. So I'm fired up for what the market's going to do. That's my quote unquote day job. So that's what I'm in day to day. Everything else we've talked about is kind of like side hustle.
Yeah, I love it. Well, can you speak to that just briefly on you're seeing fruit from lead measures? Now, what do you think is the biggest catalyst that is like like resulted in you being able to see true fruit from it? Has it been like a compound consistency by doing it for years, or has it been gathering the right team and putting the puzzle together, or what does that look like for you?
Well, it's really finding my unique ability. That's something we talk about a lot, is like, what am I good at that fires me up, that's a great use of my time, that drives the needle forward.
Yeah.
And figuring out what that is, and then outsourcing everything that doesn't line up with that. And that's where the team members come in. Like, I mean, I don't know of another realtor that has 3 personal people just supporting their business without other realtors on their team, because
Yeah.
it probably sounds excessive to anybody. And it probably is to an extent, but I've got, I'll go through the exercise of figuring out, what is my unique ability, and then everything else that needs to get done that I'm not good at, or I don't want to do, that's outside my area, figure out people that box is their unique ability, right? And then
Yeah.
hire for that. And so that's what I've done for that aspect. And I've got to carry that mindset into the other businesses we've talked about. But it's just a well-oiled machine. And so my day-to-day input or leave measures on that are things that I love doing, that I'm fired up doing, and that drives that needle forward. So it is consistency in those things, but identifying what those things are is the most important, because if you don't know what they are, then it's not sustainable. Because while you may know that one exercise is good to move your business forward, if it doesn't fire you up, it's not going to last. It's not sustainable
Yeah,
for you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Such a good point, man. I love it. It's fun to see. Yeah, obviously known you for a while. It's just fun to see things clicking. And I know you've gone through some ups and downs in different parts of business, but it's just fun when things are humming along like you want, like a well-oiled machine, like you said. So I love it so much. Well, dude, tell it if people want to find out more about you, what is the best place to contact you?
Yeah, I'm all over socials. So just Blake Shultz, no C in Schultz, so Shultz. Come visit the castle, hartmancastle.com. We've got that direct booking site finally up and running, which has been exciting this quarter. We got that launched and up and going, so we're not as bottlenecked or honed into the direct or the other booking sites and their rules. But yeah, socials, that's it. Yeah.
I love it, Blake. Well, thanks so much for being on today. Episode number 1 is in the books. And so we'll see you all in the next episode. Thanks so much for joining.
You're the man. Thanks.